everybody, it's Dr. Carmen Bryant back with Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. Thank you guys so much for joining me, all the new subscribers. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for all the emails. Thank you guys so much for joining me and becoming new subscribers. Welcome to the tribe. Thank you so much. Hopefully you find something. There's hundreds of videos. I want to say like 166, but it's like hundreds of videos on my channel. Please take the opportunity to scroll through them and see what applies to you. And do know I apologize. I was discovering how to do the YouTube channel. My introductions are super long, like I'm a commercial. And so as you see, even though today is long, just to irritate you guys, but I'm curtailing it, I'm learning. So thank you guys for being patient with me, okay? So some of the older videos do have long introductions, but just look through the videos and find, you know, something that's relevant to your situation, and you build yourself up. Some of you guys are coming into the newer videos where I got my flow going now, you know, and some of you guys are going into my older videos, but they're still relevant. They're still relevant and still have good information that pertains to your situation. So thank you for joining me. Today I want to talk about when you relapse. When you relapse and break down into the Hoover. The Hoover words and you relapse. Okay, so first of all, remember, if you go look through the videos, you have the trauma bonding 1 and 2. And I talk about the, you know, anybody that knows anything about addictions, those of you that have been addicted to drugs, some of you are still addicted to drugs, you know, there's no judgment here. But those that have been addicted to drugs know that there's a certain, you know, the serotonin, the dopamines, the oxytocin, which is the bond, the chemicals that causes bonding. You know, when women have children, that oxytocin is released in order to create a bond with the child. You know, when you have sexual intercourse with someone, that oxytocin is released and it creates a bond with that individual. That doesn't mean it creates a relationship, it just creates a bond with that individual. Or when you're being trauma bonded by the narcissist, that oxytocin is being released where it's causing a bond, but it's a traumatic bond because it's not a real relationship, first of all, and the way that they're doing it, they're manipulating. And second of all, the trauma bonding, meaning they're bringing you up to ecstasy, they're bringing you up to a height, you know, getting you high and then dropping you and then coming back and then stroking you back up and then they drop you. And so you have created this addiction. There's an addiction. That dopamine is overworking, the serotonin is overworking, the oxytocin is overworking, and you have literally become addicted to a person. So this person has now become your choice of drugs. For those, you know, meth, cocaine, crack, whatever, you know, prescription drugs, you know, whatever, fentanyl, whatever that drug is. Most of you guys know that, you know, they do teach also relapse prevention, because the average person, if you read, I'm trying to think, is it here on this site? Let me look. I'm trying to scratch my eyebrows, y'all, without wiping the eyebrow off on camera. Okay, so it says, let's look at here. So I went to Orlando Recovery Center, and I wanted to talk about the recovery process drug-wise, because it's going to be very similar to what you're going through with this narcissist. You're having, you know, triggers. You're having these, you know, these cravings for that narcissist because that was your choice of drugs. Some of you know that you don't need to go back. You know how bad it was, you know, but it's just something that you just have to have that. If I can just get a Hoover, if they can say something ugly to me, if they can say anything, it'll fill me back up. You know, and they know if I Hoover you and then I make contact with you, bring you back up, then I'm gonna leave again. I'm gonna give you silent treatment, I'm gonna go. So now here you are craving for that drug again. The average drug dealer knows, you know, if a new drug comes out, or if I want to get you hooked to a drug, you know, I'm gonna be nice, I'm gonna be cool with you, you know, I'm gonna give you little drugs, give you a little something, you know, to finally make you keep coming back, and then you're addicted to it, you need it, then you'll do anything to get it, right? Same with the narcissist. They became your choice of drug. So let me look here. I want to say, so even when you commit to getting sober, and this is on the Orlando Recovery Center, so even when you commit to getting sober, relapse is a very possibility. According to the Alcohol Anonymous survey, 75% of people relapse during their first year of recovery. Half of the cocaine addicts will relapse within a year of completing detox. In general, 40 to 60% of drug users will relapse sometime during their recovery. And so do know that even leaving out of this toxic relationship with that narcissist, you know, they Hoover, you know, it's that cycle. They leave the silent treatment, you know, the gaslighting, the silent treatment, the what else do they do? The discard, the silent treatment, the Hoover, the love bombing, and this cycle just continues. And I did a video on the cycle of narcissistic relationships, but and it gives you an idea of how you got the trauma bonding 1 and 2, and then go to the narcissistic cycle. It's I think it's the cycle of narcissistic relationship that also tells you the cycle, you know, of how people get addicted in these relationships. And so for those of you that have been in relationship with narcissists, you know that some of you guys are going through the withdrawal right now because you want them to hoover you. Even some of you, they're not out of your system yet. So some of you want them to hoover you. Some of you want to trigger the hoover. Some of you guys are posting pictures in order to get comments. You know, some of you guys are making sure you're not getting the, TMG said the something body. I know you're going to put it in the comments. The revenge body. But if you get in the revenge body in order to trigger a hoover, you haven't gotten that. They're not out of your system yet. You know, no contact means no contact. That means you don't try to hoover them. Because sometimes they don't hoover you. You try to hoover them, or you try to trigger them to hoover you. Some of you have triggers. And so let's look at the relapse. Okay. So according to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, relapse can be defined in several ways. Now, this is talking about substance abuse, but I want you to apply it to narcissist as being the substance, as being the drug of choice, okay? So resuming substance use after a period of sobriety. So I'm going back to the narcissist or falling for the hoover after a long period of the silent treatment. Going back to high levels of substance abuse. Keep in mind, if you've been with this narcissist, they've taken you to a certain level of abuse, a certain level of trauma bonding, a certain level in the relationship, you know, that when they discard, you know, you crash. And when you crash, some of you guys haven't been in the relationship long enough, so you're like, well, when they discarded, I left. You know what? Deuces. And some of you guys, when I crashed, it just really tore me apart. Those of you that are so tore apart is because they've injected that much drug in your system to get you that high. You got children, you have a home, you have grandchildren, you have a family and everything. I mean, you got high levels of toxicity in your system from this narcissist. And so to leave, to get sober, you know, to work on your sobriety in your no contact phase, in your recovery phase, as you're building yourself back up, this stuff is getting out of your system. So if you go back, you're not going to go back to the level at which they love bombed you before, because that love bombing was awesome. Think about it. It was wonderful. But you're not going to go back to that level. You know, they're at this level of abuse as it is. You're going back to this level of abuse. So you've had this calm and quiet and peace, and you go home and everything is peaceful. And then all of a sudden your system is shocked and they're back in your life. You know, they love bomb you and everything is beautiful. You got the honeymoon phase. You know, this is wonderful, but that mask starts slipping off. Eventually they're going to take you right back up to that level of drugs that was in your system at one point in time. And so the next one is becoming addicted again. They're slowly, when they're love bombing you, when they hoover you and they're love bombing you and saying all the right things, because your heart is still not healed, your heart still has holes in it. So they're telling you all the things and they're plugging these holes, in your heart. You are being lured back in with that love bombing and you're addicted again. So to break that again is traumatic. It is a traumatic cycle that you keep putting yourself into. And I know it's hard. For some of you guys, it's hard. So a process during which external and internal factors such as unexpected stress, mental illness, respectively, and an addict's fallible responses to those factors result in substance use. So even with most of you guys have post-traumatic stress or complex post-traumatic stress. So you deal with triggers too. So when you're dealing with triggers, and stress, you're coping the way that you cope, just like most drug addicts do, or people that are addicted to gambling, addicted to sex, cigarettes, whatever, whatever the addiction is, that is a form of coping. You're medicating yourself, self-medicating yourself because of pain. You're self-medicating yourself because this was something that I can rely on to make me feel a certain way, because on the inside I'm think about it, that's why most people are addicted to drugs and alcohol, because they're self-medicating unhealed and unresolved wounds. Sorry, you guys. So why do people relapse? Let's see why people relapse. And this also applies to those in narcissistic or have left narcissistic relationships. So the reason for relapse are varied as reasons for addictions, but some include, this is not the end of the whole list, this is just some: living or socializing with people who have substance abuse disorders. Okay, what if you're around dysfunctional people all the time that feel like it's okay? They don't understand narcissist abuse. They have no idea what you've been through, and so those people that you get around are more apt to encourage you to try to make it work with Mr. Man, or Miss Woman, but what if they don't really understand? So they're putting, you just need to pray about it. Now, some of you guys say you need to pray about it and you need to get back in that relationship. Well, those are individuals that are not educated about what they're dealing with. Yes, you're supposed to pray and you're supposed to believe God. And when you have someone that's psychotic or you have someone that's tearing your life up, you're not supposed to stay there, you know. So, you know, for so well-meaning people say things, and sometimes they say things and they're not educated in what they're saying. You're causing people to go back into abusive relationships. You know, so it's not, you have to be very careful, even within, you know, the religious, all religious organizations, meaning well and doing well and following the doctrines that you are under. Sometimes people lack the knowledge or the wisdom of abusive relationship, even psychologically abusive relationship. And so they say what they know to say. And that's, hey, just, you know, you have to go back, you make it work, and you keep forgiving. But you're being tormented. You're addicted to this individual, and you're being tormented. Your family's being tormented. Your psychological health is tore up from the floor up. Your physical health is, you got one leg and you know you had two last week. You know, something is wrong, and there's evidence that something is wrong, and you are addicted to this individual that is doing this stuff to you. And if you guys ever watch, I always bring this up as an example, if you guys ever watch the show My 600-Pound Life, you know, my heart really goes out to a lot of those individuals. The doctor even says, you know, when they struggle with getting their eating in control, obviously because there's some of them are 700 to 900 pounds. A human body is not supposed to carry that much weight. And you can almost see them looking at them as like they're stuck. They are in bondage, and it's almost like they're imprisoned by this. It's almost like a fat suit. You know, you can just see their face like they're imprisoned with this, and you see them with their struggles with food because they're addicted to the food to a point where it is tearing up their health. They can't get up. They have no life. They have no life. And so he tells them to go to counseling, and a lot of them have trauma. You know, a lot of them had trauma in their past, you know, abandonment, rejection, sexual abuse, you know, death, you know, all sorts of, when you listen to the show, they'll tell you a lot of the things they're going to counseling for, and a lot of them become successful. Some of them do, you know, and a lot of them still are stuck in that cycle of addiction with food because that is their coping skill. But look how it's tearing the body up. You know, look what it's doing to them, you know, and there is evidence of what it's doing. There's something wrong. You know, so don't be so quick to judge people that are morbidly obese. You have no idea. Some is health issues, but you have no idea what these people are going through, you know, in their hearts, in their minds, and in their emotions. Likewise, for those of you that are addicted to the narcissist, that's why I don't judge. If you relapse and go back, you know, we're here to help you and support you because we know what's coming. We know what's coming. That's why we teach this. And for some of you have inboxed me and said, you know, I fell for the Hoover and I went back, and you apologize. You have nothing to apologize. It's expected. I know that's going to happen. You know, for some people, I know that's going to happen, but don't feel judged on this channel. Do not feel judged. We know what's going to happen, and that's why we teach that to you. Those that do teach that, you know, relapse is something that will happen, especially if you've had a long relationship with this individual and you have a lot of connections with them, children, houses, history, you know. You have to work on it. You have to work on your sobriety, which is your no contact. You have to work on your sobriety. Let's see what else. Going places where you used to go. So you go to places that trigger you and cause you to crave that narcissist, and places, hot spots that you guys used to go, or music that you guys used to listen to, or cologne or perfume that you guys used to smelling, certain colognes or perfumes that they used to use. Living by yourself. So a lot of you live by yourself, but you don't do anything. You're sitting in your house. That's why a lot of times I tell people that are that have major depressive disorder that if you're sitting in your home by yourself all the time, it causes your mind to overthink. So you're overthinking, and usually you'll fall for the Hoover because they know that you're by yourself. You'll fall for the Hoover because you have nothing to distract you or cause you to move in a different direction. Lack of belief in yourself. You don't believe in your own self. We believe in you, but you don't believe in your own self. You don't understand how much strength you really have. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what you're feeling, because those are just it. That's feeling that you have the power of the get back, to get up, you know. And so you have to believe in your own self that you know that you can do it. And hopefully these videos will strengthen you to do it. Feeling constant and or high levels of anger. You're very angry. You're upset about what has happened. You can't even believe they went and started another family 2 weeks after they left you. You've been married to them for 40 years. That's how desperate they are for fuel. A history of major depressive disorder. Major depression does play a major role. And a lot of you have been in these relationships. A lot of you do suffer from major depression. You do suffer from post-traumatic stress and complex post-traumatic stress. And so that will cause you to relapse because you are trying to self-medicate. Some of you relapse not even to the narcissist. You actually go to chemical dependencies, you know, but that is a coping mechanism. So either it's the narcissist that you're using as a coping mechanism, or it's a substance that you're using, or, you know, or shopping or gambling or whatever it is. Lack of support system of people who promote and believe in your recovery. So a lot of people do not understand what narcissist abuse is. And so ignorantly, in their innocent ignorance, they're telling you stuff that you know is not being taught to you on these YouTube channels, you know, because they don't understand what narcissist abuse is and how intense this type of abuse is, the psychological abuse is. And then on top of that, especially if you have a covert narcissist that everybody loves, wonderful individual. You know, the girl knows she drop dead gorgeous. You know that brother is fine as wine. Now, that's old school. Fine as wine. You don't know about that. Fine as wine. But fine as wine. I'm talking about 1829 fine as wine. You know, looking back day. Okay, so this is going to tell you my age, but you know, back in the day with Billie D. Williams was, you know, on Star Wars, you know, fine, that kind of fine, you know. So, but, and then people are looking, but they're looking at the person's looks, they're looking at the charisma, they're looking at their personality and what they do in the community. So the support system is not there because they don't understand. They fall for the charms of this abuser. So some of you are stuck in that situation, and you find relief when you come on these videos and other YouTube channels that you know that you're not crazy. And then you're trying to force people to watch the videos. Some people are just stuck in their ways. You can't, you know, and sometimes you may have to separate from that crowd. If that support system is an unhealthy support system, you may have to separate from that crowd. Lacking unselfish life goals. You know, sometimes you don't have goals. You've got to create goals in your life. This is a part of it. It's like getting a liver, you know, taken out, or you're getting one of your ears taken off. You know, that's, you know, you have to learn. When people lose their sight, other senses become very keen. You know, when people lose their mobility, you know, they find other ways of doing things. People lose their hands, they find other ways of doing things, you know, painting with their mouth. You know, you have to learn that this wart that has been cut off of you was not necessary in your life anyway. It was not a beauty mark. It was a wart. And they're not caused by frogs. It was a wart that was cut off. Now you have to live your life without this wart. And life can actually be beautiful. You just have to have a good support system that understands what you've been through and what the addiction was. The addiction was the individual, the narcissist. Come up with goals for your life. Not prioritizing relaxation, good eating habits, or exercising. Remember, I talked about this before. You got to get yourself, but some of your bodies have started to fail you. You know, talk to a nutritionist. Those of you that have medical health, you know, talk to a nutritionist. Get your eating habits right again. Get out and walk. If you can't walk, get out and roll. Do bike rides, something. You drive the car, lick a tree. I don't care. You know, do something. You know, treat yourself. You know, sit and look at the water. Some of you guys are by the beaches. You know, my family over there, one of my sisters over there in Hawaii. Oh, you got the beach, girl. I'd be staring at the flowers, sniffing. They would think something's wrong with me. What's wrong with her? These flowers, you know, something wrong with her. But some of you guys are by waters and mountains, and go out there and enjoy the beauty of your environment, you know, absorb your environment, you know, change your eating habits, exercise, go to the gym, get a gym membership. All of us do. We just got to get there, right? Get a gym membership, go swimming, do something that you used to do that you don't do anymore. Some of you guys never did anything because you're accustomed to being with this narcissist since you were young. Go find something to do. What is it about you that you like? What do you like doing? What are your talents? What are your gifts? You know, some of you guys have to discover that. Thinking you're cured, and that you no longer have to work on your recovery. For some of you guys, this will be a lifelong recovery. You know, and some of you guys, just like, you know, those that have been addicted to drugs, it's a lifelong recovery and educational period for you. You know, you'll get to a point where you're like, I'm glad and I would never do this again. I am more conscious. I'm more aware. You know, I'm not going this way. I'm a heal me. I'm going to get myself together first, because if I get myself together, it raises my standards and everybody can't come in my bubble. Okay, there are certain things that are going to be triggers. I'm going to go with my gut instinct. Something don't feel right. I'm going to go with that. See, you're learning, though. Believing the relapse is complete, unfixable, and or a personal failure. You're not a personal failure if you got hoovered and you went back in. Some of you guys have long-term history. Some of you guys have this. Some of you guys are so heartbroken. It's unbearable pain that you're not accustomed to. Let me share this with you guys. I think yesterday I was going through my YouTube channel. I was doing something on YouTube, and I don't know if you guys remember Lady Sings the Blues with Diana Ross back in the 1970s, where she did the biography documentary, the movie. It was about Billie Holiday. The jazz singer back in the 30s, 40s. And you guys remember she had that very distinct whiny type jazz vocals. You know, she sang very pretty. And it dawned on me. I said, now that we are more knowledgeable, I remember hearing her back in the days. My dad had a record, you know, Billie Holiday with the carnation. She had her head tilted. She had that big carnation. I'm going to start wearing carnations on the camera. So big it's going to take up the camera. Okay, my bad. Sidebar. But anyway, but she used to wear those big gardenias. And, but if you listen to, if you listen, I started listening. I said, let me listen to the vocals. We have more knowledge now about what she's singing about. So I was listening to, you guys remember, Ain't Nobody's Business If I Do. I went and listened to the vocals of that, and one of the verses in there said, what did it say? She said, she was talking about the guy that she loves. She said, but I'd much rather you hit me than to get up and quit me. But ain't nobody's business if I do. And I thought about it. I was like, wow. So I started listening to other lyrics to her song. This was the most depressed her. She was, you know, she was hooked on heroin and alcohol. And that's what she died of later on, complications to that. But this woman, you know, she was a prostitute at the age of 14 with her mother. And she was raised in a brothel. But you know, listening to her music, everything that she talked about was pain and hurt and how the men have done her and how they hurt her. But she was like, I'd much rather you hit me, beat me, than for you to quit me. You know, that lets you know where her mind was at. And she was addicted to drugs. She was hurt, you know. And so for some of you guys, this is where you guys are at, so hurt and so, you know, where you actually, this is your music in your head. This is your theme in your head. If ain't nobody's business if I do, you come up with excuses. But let me tell you something. If you relapse and you go back into the Hoover, you know, if you fall for the Hoover and you fall for the love bombing and you relapse, doesn't mean it's unfixable. Doesn't mean that you can't come back. That means you got to start all over again from square one. So everything that, all that you have, all the work that you have done up until this point, if you go and relapse back into the Hoover, that doesn't mean that you fail. It's not unfixable. It just means you have to start all over again. And you know what that was like in the first place. You have to resist, you know, because they become resist the unresisted. My pastor preached a sermon about that. You have to resist the unresisted. And sometimes they become unresistible. You know, the way that they look, the things that they say, certain keywords, they trigger you. You got to resist you have to change your environment. You have to do something for yourself. But if you relapse, some of you have relapsed and went back. Some of you are on here right now and you fell for the Hoover. And you're talking to me as if you're still out of it. You're not out of the relationship. You back in it, but you're too embarrassed or too ashamed to say anything. I don't want you to be ashamed. I don't want you to be embarrassed. It happens, and we're not judging you. We know what's going to happen. You know, we already know the cycle that they don't change. So we are here for you. So even though you're silent about it, but we're here for you. And I understand relapse happens, especially when you have been addicted to a narcissist. Sometimes you go back and forth until you finally decide, I'm done. I'm done. So I don't want you to feel guilty. I don't want you to feel like this is impossible to get back. You know, now you got to figure out another way because they're going to up the antics because you escaped. They're going to punish you for getting away. They're going to punish you for saying anything. Some of them monitoring the YouTube channel to see what kind of comments you make. And some of you guys want them to see the comments. That's the crazy thing. You triggered the Hoover, you know. And so the thing about it is that now they're going to punish you for all the comments. They're going to punish you for growth. They're going to punish you for looking good. They're going to punish you for losing the weight. They're going to punish you for making it without them. And so you have to be prepared. Some of you have to be prepared. But when you do, you know, when it happens, know that this tribe is here for you. When it happens, know that you can email me, you know, and we're going to support you. I'm going to support you. We're going to support you. It happens, you know, so don't beat yourself up. We're here for you. Let's see, is there anything else I want to say? So why does relapse happen? Overconfidence. You know, feel so good about yourself. You're not worried about the Hoover ain't going to work, girl. The Hoover ain't going to work. You know, she's not going to Hoover me. He's not going to Hoover me. I'm not, or they do. I'm strong and I'm confident, but they're devious, diabolical people. You know, they are, and they're good at what they do. You know, you overestimate them. And so you get overconfident and don't realize, and that's how you end up relapsing. Stress is also disappointment. Another cause of relapse is disappointment. This can come about from unrealistic expectation from your recovery, such as expecting not to crave at all anymore a year after stopping. So that's the same. That's White Sands treatment. This is something that's on their website. But that's the same. You know, it's like I've been narc free for a year or two. You know, why am I all of a sudden craving this individual? Why did I see someone that looked like them? And now I'm thinking thinking about them. Now I'm looking up their Facebook. This hasn't been like this. You were triggered. You know, that's a part of post-traumatic stress and complex post-traumatic stress. Self-pity is normal for everyone to feel self-pity at some point, but it isn't healthy to hold on to self-pity. In addiction recovery, holding on to self-pity can drive a person to relapse. It causes people to look at other people for blame instead of looking at their own life and changing the things that will make them happier. Don't do like the narcissist, because they can't look within. So let's see. So I think that's all I wanted to bring you from there. Oh, one more thing. And this is from North Point Recovery, the cycle of relapse. They talk about the emotional stage. This is a stage when potential relapse begins. Some of you guys have been stable all up until this point, and all of a sudden you have a triggering situation or difficult events that bring about longing for drugs or alcohol, or you begin to long that narcissist. You may be around friends that have family, that are married, that have been married. You know, they're married to their high school sweethearts. You know, you're looking at these people with families, and you begin to long for something that never was real. And in your mind, like Billie Holiday said, you know what? And some of you guys have done it. I'm much rather he beat me than for me not to be without him. You know, I'm much rather him beat me than to quit me. You know, I much rather be in the relationship with this individual. At least I know I got someone. You know, it's better for me to have someone, not to have nobody at all. So I'll tolerate, you know, I'll tolerate the cheating, I'll tolerate the lying and everything as long as I have somebody. You know, don't fall for that, because you have more value than that. You have entirely too much. That's like me coming on camera and using crayons for lipstick. That sounds pretty good, huh? But if I come on here and use crayons for lipstick and I got the wax melted on my lips, you know, and I know that I can afford to go buy me some lipstick, I have more value than that to come on the camera and look like a clown, right? I have more value in myself to come on and present myself appropriately to you guys. So that's the same thing with you. You have more value to present yourself to the world that's looking for someone that has been through something, that has experience, so you don't walk around with wax lips, those big wax lips, you know, because you're using counterfeit stuff to make yourself feel good or look good. And you got into this emotional state where all of a sudden now you're looking at yourself, nobody wants me, I'm a broken vessel, I'm so tore up that no one would ever accept me with my kids, and they wouldn't accept me with this emotional damage. You know, I'm not pretty enough like his new supplier, her new supply, you know, and you start feeling bad. Well, you know what, that is the only word he did say, or she did say, you know, so I need to go ahead and just suck it up. You know, it's better than having nobody at all. You have more value than that. They want you to think like that. It's a part of the game. The other one is a psychological stage. This is a stage where the great deal of bargaining takes place. The recovering person will often have thoughts such as, only one use won't hurt me. Only one trigger is not going to do anything. Only one conversation is not going to do anything. You know, if I can just look and see just one time on their Facebook or Instagram, or if I can just ride by his or her job just one time and let them see me and they wave, or I shake their hand, or we bump into each other, just one time is not going to cause me to relapse back into the relationship. Yeah, it will. You know, now for those of you that have children, that's different, because you have to learn now to gray rock. You have to learn now limited contact, limited conversation. It doesn't require emotions. You know, there's a difference between, hey, how you doing? You know, when they say, hey, how you doing? You're like, hey, how you doing? Hey, you know, they can read all that. Besides, you know, or versus, you know, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? All right. You know, there's a difference. There's no emotion behind that. They read all that, okay? So remember, one trigger, one Hoover, one Facebook post, and you spiral back out of control. So you spiral right back into the craving, and now you're craving this individual, and now you want them back, knowing they're not good for you. And some of you said, I know they're not good for me, but I can't help but want them, you know. And some of you have went back in, you made excuses to get back in there, you know, because that's all you know. And you're better than that. Billions of people on this earth. You think that one person, just one person? Come on. Physical stage. This is the final stage of relapse, when the person actually uses drugs or alcohol. So the physical stage is when you actually go back to the narcissist. Now, in your mind, you're feeling ashamed and you're embarrassed about it. You don't want anybody to know, you know, but it says at first there most likely be a sense of euphoria. And that's the experience. Remember that first hit. You know, the love bombing is that sense of euphoria. You feel good. You feel happy. The world is going great. Things are looking up. This person has changed. You know, they're not the same as they used to be at one point in time. That euphoria, that's where the trauma bonding comes. They take you to that sense of euphoria, that high sense of climax in your mind. But then what ends up happening? Let's see. He or she might have thoughts of enjoying being reunited with an old friend. that drug, you know, that narcissist, if the use occurs in a social situation, it can further reinforce those triggers that made those situations dangerous in the first place. The problem is that the good feelings rarely last for a long time. The love bombing does not last. And once, excuse me, guys. And once the high is over, once the person begins to sober up, the reality of what has happened begins to sit in. Once the mask starts slipping off again, the reality that they never changed sets in, and then you kick yourself in the butt. And then you don't know how dangerous they can be this time that they got you back. You know, and the discard is coming. The discard is coming. It is. The discard is coming. That's what they do. That's their cycle. So hopefully this has helped you guys. Hopefully you guys got a smile on your face, you know, by the analogies that I use. Some of you guys say you enjoy the laughter, so I enjoy making you guys laugh while at the same time trying to bring you some serious information about your situation. And so I'm glad that a lot of you can say that you can smile through your tears. I love it. If you can laugh and cry at the same time, then I know that it's working. And so I'm glad that you guys are here with me, and I'm glad that it is helping you guys. Thank you for the feedback, and I'm so grateful. A lot of you guys say this is really helping you guys move forward in your process. Sometimes you do need people in your path to keep pushing you forward, coaching you forward, cheering you forward, you know, hitting you in the back, giving you a high five, you know, giving you a thumbs up, you know, that you're doing good. Sometimes you need that motivation, and sometimes the motivation comes through YouTube channels. You know, those of you that have found channels that are very informative. You have Angie Atkinson. That was the first person I started watching. Then you have Associates Direct. I love listening to Associate Direct. I like, and that's from a male's perspective. So I love listening to him. You have Sarah Speaks. You have, who has Melanie Tonya Evans. You have, there's another one I just, I've been watching him for a while. He's a doctor as well. I think I have it on my list. I have to go find them. But there are a lot of coaches out there, you know, if they trigger you, if it's not you, or if that we're not for everybody. You know, if everybody can't handle me and my sense of humor, the way that I handle things. Some people don't like the fact that I talk with my hands in the camera, you know, and that triggers them. So I would just say go to another channel. You got to find someone that fits you, that fits your personality, fits your situation, and fits the way that you understand. You know, but there's a lot of help out there, and we're going to get these resources going, okay, you guys? So thank you guys so much for joining me. If you have not already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. Hit the bell. I pre-record Tuesday through Fridays. I come on live on Sundays between 8 and 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which is the West Coast time. We do have a guest that's here for a conference that we are having. So if I cannot come on live, of course, you guys know I will let you guys know so I can wish you a good week. Please, if you have not, also go check out my mentor's YouTube channel. Let's get her numbers going. Her name is Helen Sadler, Destiny Helper, and she gives you a perspective of narcissist abuse from the biblical and the spiritual aspect. She is the presiding prelate of Into His Chambers Global's Ministries. If you guys would like to join the Facebook page and watch the services on Thursdays and Sundays, and whenever we have guest speakers, you are welcome to follow. She is presiding prelate, for those of you that do not know, is the head pastor, the senior pastor of the church. She has many other churches under her, and other many ministries and church leaders and leaders under her that she mentors. She is a woman ahead of her time, a very powerful and very honorable woman. That is my spiritual mother. She is an awesome lady. Please go and subscribe to her channel and see what she has to say, because some of you guys do have questions about the spiritual aspect of narcissism, and she breaks it down for you. I try to stay more on the clinical side of the house. And yes, those of you that have asked, I am a believer. I am a Christian. But I do bring you the information because I'm a clinical therapist. I'm a mental health professional, so I try to bring you the information from that aspect to make it not palatable, but to make it, in bite sizes, to make it more understandable at our level, in layman terms. Instead of using big, giant terms, try to break it down in layman terms to help you to understand what you're going through. Also, I have a Facebook page. Please join me, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. Hit the thumbs up, the like button. And I also have my professional Facebook page, which is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. So I post on all three of them. I am on Twitter. You guys laughing at me because, I'm mature. And so, from time to time I tweet, but I do tweet the videos on there, and I do sometimes put words of encouragement. So I'm still learning the technology. You guys work with me. Be patient. The millennials are helping me. But it is, okay, I think it's hashtag, right? Hashtag, and it's Dr. Carmen Bryant 1. You're welcome to join me on Twitter. I am on Instagram, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. And then look down below in my YouTube, underneath the YouTube description, I will put my book in there. And some of you guys have inquired about giving. You guys want wanted to donate. And believe you me, when you donate, I'm going to use that to continue building our tribe. And I am working on a second book. My book, if you have not ordered it already, is Unmasking the Illusion of Perfection. Please take the opportunity at Amazon. It is in Kindle and is on Barnes & Noble as well, ebook, and order the book. Is going to help you. It is a, we talk about narcissist abuse, but it plays it out so you can see what it looks like. So once again, thank you guys so much for joining me. I am truly honored. I am honored that we are in this tribe together. And thank you guys so much. I really enjoy you guys. You guys are an awesome group. Now I'm going to go be great. You go be great.